You get to see what follows, how intimately the Lord loves his people, how tenderly he thinks of them, how highly he values them. The way the interchange goes, he places the sheep on one side, the goats on the other, and then verse 34, the king says to the sheep on his right, "Come, you who are blessed by my Father, and inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. Why? For I was hungry, and you gave me food. I was thirsty, you gave me drink. I was a stranger, you welcomed me. I was naked, you clothed me. I was sick, you visited me. Prison, you came to me." And I love the response that the righteous give. They're like, I don't really remember doing that. Like, I think I would have remembered if I met you, Jesus. Like, physically, it would be a fairly significant thing in my life. Like, getting married, birth of a child, the day that Jesus showed up in my front yard and needed something to eat, and I got to get him a meal from whatever we had in the pantry. And I love how the Lord's response is so tender. He's like, no, you misunderstand. The relationship between me and my church is so tender, is so close, that the proof of your love for God is not that you cared for Christ when he showed up. It's that you cared for his church when she showed up. He cared for all of his people when they showed up, that they showed wonderful, tender watch care over the people of God. I will say, in just clarification to help cue your brain in, I think the ESV, I think, is the best translation out right now. It's absolutely marvelous. I don't think verse 40 is probably translated very helpfully. They are attempting to maintain the order of the words from the Geneva translation from about 400 years ago and change. And I think they perhaps don't make it quite so helpful. Truly, truly, I say to you, as you did it to one of the least of these my brothers. We read that, most of us in our brain, like there's commas around the my brothers, the brackets. And probably the Greek is probably a little bit better read if you have an NASB or an NIV here, where it says, I say to you, if you did it to any of the least of my brothers, the least of these are my brothers. If it's reflected in how you care for the church. Which is why, again, when he's speaking to those that will be destroyed, he says that any of you that did so, you did to the least of these. You can imagine him pointing to the sheep next to him. The Lord is so intimately connected to his people that the proof of transformation, that the proof of your character being altered, the proof of love of God is reflected in love of his people in ordinary activities. I love it. None of these are like kind of spectacular, groundbreaking moments. You found somebody who needed something to drink. Here, let me get you a cup of water, man. It's fine. It's fine. Somebody that needed something to eat. Somebody that was in the hospital and just needed a little bit of TLC. Somebody's having a hard time and, quote, down on their luck, and you're able to take care of them. You know, the reason why this is so important is, I would say, kind of partially for thinking about it from the good perspective, but actually really more important, I think, for when you think about it for the goats. Those that are defined as the enemies of God, verse 41, they get cursed, they receive the wrath of God, and verse 42, they actually object, and I can... Good on for you for having actually the backbone to speak back to God on his judgment throne, but okay. And their argument is, verse 44, when did we see you? When did we see you? Because as the story unfolds, we're the bad guys. We're the ones that didn't feed you. We're the ones that didn't give you something to drink. We're the ones that didn't give you clothes to wear. When did we see you? In verse 45, the Lord clearly defines, you didn't have to see me physically. You saw my people, and that was enough. And I think this is so incredibly important because of what it actually defeats. The number one American answer for why I should be in God's side that He loves, why I should be one of the sheep, why I should be one of the good guys that wins in the end, is because I'm a better person than everybody else. I mean, have you seen my neighbors? They're terrible. No, I'm making that up. Not really my neighbors. My neighbors are lovely people. Your neighbors, right? Have you seen my coworkers? My coworkers are great. Yours. Have you seen my family? My family is wonderful. You see the point, right? Obviously, the illustration. We take this kind of comparative moment where we say, have you seen everybody else, and have you seen how bad they are? The bad stuff they do, the horrible things, the way they hurt each other, the way that they're unjust towards each other, the way that they lie about each other, all the terrible things that they do. And it's interesting, the thing that Jesus highlights here, the damnation that follows, is not for any of the terrible things that anybody has done. It's the absence of good things done to His people. That's actually, now again, that's not the ultimate thing. We're going to get to that in a moment. But that's the proof, that's the example, that's the illustration. You want to know what the proof is that you're a go to proof that you are on the wrong side, that the natural bent of your heart is not caring for God's people. Now, many of us,